Welcome to today's video. We are going to talk about the petrodollar and how it really changed the U.S. and global economies after 1971. All right, welcome to today's video. We're going to talk about the petrodollar. This is the agreement that started after President Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard in 1971. So prior to that, if you held dollars, and this was primarily for countries to do, if a country held dollars in their reserves and they wanted to exchange those dollars for gold, they could do so at $35 an ounce. However, after the United States spent so much money on Vietnam and the Lyndon Johnson's Great Society program, there wasn't enough gold to kind of cover all the dollars that they had issued. So that window ended, meaning the exchange of gold. And after this, the U.S. formed kind of an alliance with Saudi Arabia and other kind of countries in the OPEC cartel of oil producers in the Middle East, that they had kind of a deal. All of the countries in the world would buy and sell oil from OPEC in dollars. And in exchange, the U.S. would provide military protection to ensure that this whole global trade system stayed peaceful and nobody was robbing these oil tankers that were moving around the globe. And this was a benefit in some ways to the U.S. because it created a constant demand for dollars and basic law of supply and demand. If more people want something, the value of it goes up. So the dollar was seen as a high value, stable currency. And other countries that sold to the U.S., they were paid in dollars, so their profit was in dollars, so they were able to store their profit in a high value currency that allowed them to buy lots of other goods from other places. So it was kind of beneficial for people at the top of the food chain for trade. However, it did affect the U.S. via what's called the Triffin dilemma. We'll have a separate video on that in the link in both comments below. But the Triffin dilemma essentially is this conflict that a country has when they are the issuer of the reserve currency. On one hand, having a strong currency means that you can buy a lot of stuff from other countries at a good deal because your currency is highly valued. But on the downside is that your exports are too expensive for a lot of other countries to be able to afford. And we saw in the United States kind of over the last couple of decades that U.S. manufacturing has left and gone overseas. And this is primarily because it's just too expensive to produce products in the U.S., not because Americans are necessarily charging higher wages, it's because of the exchange rate. The dollar is very strong. If you go to another country with a weaker currency, then you're able to your money goes further. So it just makes a lot of sense for businesses to manufacture overseas. And this is the Triffin dilemma, which is why, if another country were to ever decide they wanted to be the global reserve currency instead of the dollar, it would probably adversely affect their exporting business, which is a big consideration. So the petrodollar agreement's been in place for a long time, and I do have some other notes here that I wanted to share with you on this infographic. And it also led to what is called the Eurodollar market, which if you've ever heard that expression, it actually has nothing to do with the euro currency. It's kind of a separate marketplace for dollars that are earned as profit when people sell things and kind of get paid in dollars. They take these dollars and instead of putting them into a U.S. bank that has a lot of regulations around what you can do with them, they have this sort of shadow banking world where you can deposit your dollars in a non-U.S. bank and then lend that out for interest. And it created this very large, thriving market of kind of short-term loans between countries, and they're able to kind of make their money work for them. And it's out of the realm or control of the Federal Reserve System, and it's kind of based in UK and Europe, which is hence where the label, the Eurodollar market, came from. So that was sort of another byproduct of the petrodollar era. Russia was also forced to buy and sell oil in dollars, and that's not necessarily in their interests. They then have to exchange their currency to make the purchase, and then they have this profit in dollars that they don't necessarily want to hold. And when the conflict with Ukraine started this year, the U.S. government actually seized Russia's reserves that were being held in dollars. So there's now even less incentive for the Russians to buy and sell any goods in dollars. So it looks like this petrodollar arrangement may be coming to an end, as Saudi Arabia has expressed interest in buying and selling goods, specifically oil, outside of the dollar system, and potentially Chinese currency or Russian currency, or even gold. And this could affect this arrangement, which has been in place for a long time. The one benefit that would have to the U.S. sort of working class manufacturing sector is if the petrodollar arrangement went away and now oil is bought and sold around the globe in a variety of currencies, it doesn't necessarily all have to be done in one currency, it will remove that pressure via the Triffin dilemma from the United States and potentially allow manufacturing to thrive once again. So a lot of these geopolitical decisions, they have pros and cons. They have groups that are affected positively and groups that are affected negatively. So as we go through and analyze all of these different situations, we always want to look at both sides of the coin. So that is the petrodollar agreement, and I'll put some links in the comments to some other videos and infographics that relate to this topic. And we will see in our modern era whether we're going to move to a new global reserve currency or a basket of currencies. Time will tell. As of the recording of this video, we haven't quite gotten that all worked out yet.